let me give you where we are, like a recovering addict. The way to recovery is first admitting your problem and understanding where you are, and then you can implement plans to recover from your disease. In January of 2013, there were 1 million more Republicans than declined to state. October of 2018, there were 684,000 more declined to state than Republicans. 1.7 million Republicans we lost in 6 years, and the state Republican Party spent zero on voter registration. Did not do a thing about voter registration. Because of Prop 14, they said, we don't need to register voters. Okay? Well, Prop 14 is also another problem. Thanks to Prop 14, on the November 2018 ballot, there were 41 legislative seats out of 153 with no Republican on the ballot, plus no Republican running for lieutenant governor, no Republican running for the U.S. Senate for the second time in a row. So we didn't have candidates on the ballot, and you wonder why John Cox only got 38% of the vote, because there was no campaigns in 41 legislative seats. I speak to lots of county central committees, have over the years. My first public speech was in June of '61 to a women's federated group in the mid-Wilshire area of Los Angeles, and they haven't shut me up since. And I do about 50 to 75 speeches a year. One of the things that the state party used to do, until 6 years ago, was to help the counties. In many cases, pay for an executive director. Help pay for the rent, pay for the utilities and the phones. Not at election time, from Labor Day to the election, but throughout the year. 6 years ago, the board of directors declared helping the counties is a waste of money. Know what that got us? There are 25 counties out of 58 that are now non-operative. And the worst one of the bunch is LA County. How bad is LA County? They have regular meetings. Their regular meeting was February 9th. They canceled it because the officers didn't want to have a meeting, so the whole county of LA, no meeting. That's how well operated that is. There's some other things about LA County. Suffice it to say, 10 of the 25 legislative seats in the Assembly without a candidate were in LA County. It is a non-operative county, period. So if you don't have voter registration, if you don't have candidates on the ballot, if you don't help the counties, if you continue to have the view that Republicans should not nominate Republicans for partisan office, then what do you expect to have other than what happened to us on November 6th? We lost not because of the Democrats, we lost because of our own inefficiencies and the fact that we were comatose. We didn't do the job. Now, I was just doing an interview with the Del Norte Central Committee, which I think Corinne has just finished, her Zoom with them. One of the questions that was asked to me is normally asked, well, how are you going to raise money as chairman? Well, state Republican Party in the last 2 years, according to Mr. Brulty, has raised $34 million. According to him, and I have no reason to disbelieve him, this is the most money raised by any state party in the nation. $34 million, that's a lot of money. And if he had just said that, no one would have been the wiser. Because then he said, but the Texas Republican Party, they only raised $6 million. Now, how much would you rather raise, $6 million or $34 million? $34 million?
Yeah.
Wrong. 6 in Texas. You know why? They have 2 Republican senators, every constitutional office, a majority of the members of the House, 2/3 of the House of Representatives delegation, control of the state Senate, and control of their House of Representatives, their version of our assembly. For $6 million, For $34 million, Matt, what did we get? We lost 7 congressional seats, 5 assembly seats, 3 state senate seats, and one Board of Equalization seat, and no T-shirts. We didn't even get a T-shirt out of that. So which would you rather have? So it's not a question of raising money, it's how you spend the money. And we did not spend the money right. I would have preferred to have the executive director of the state and the board of directors of the Texas Republican Party come over here. Of course, they couldn't afford the housing. That's another story. And help us here, because we didn't do well with $34 million. How do you raise money? Well, first of all, the big corporations are not going to be giving us the money they gave us before. When you have 19 members of the Assembly, 10 members of the Senate, why would they want to give money? What they are doing, though, are talking to the Republicans in the corporations that give the money and saying, you know, your corporation gave X amount of money to Gallagher. That's good. You know he's only one of 19. You continue giving him money, and we're going to hurt your industry and your business. One by one, they're bullying our donors, and the donors have cut out. The major fundraiser for the state party has already announced that he's not going to raise any more money for the party because his industry is under attack. And so that's what we're facing. So we have to redo our thoughts about how you raise money. But let me talk about the GOP. Now, I'm not talking about the grand old party. I'm talking about growth, optimism, and perseverance. What we really need to do is have a plan. I'm the only candidate with a written plan, back to basics, on how we can solve the problems and implement the solutions and the cost of those solutions. All the other candidates have generic buzzwords, platitudes. I love one of them. I won't say it was Jessica. Vision. We're going to have great victory in 2020. Does that set you up? That's her vision. And that's her plan, to have a great victory. Anybody here opposed to a great victory? No. We need real leadership, not a staffer. So we need growth. We need voter registration. I can register between now and the 31st of December, 490,000 new Republicans in the state of California, 250,000 of which come from the churches throughout the state. I've already met with church leaders in Southern California, in the Bay Area. In a couple of weeks, I'm meeting with them in the Inland Empire. I have 200 ministers in the corridor between San Francisco and Sacramento ready to come on board should I become chairman. And then we also have a group down in Fresno. We haven't set the date for that group for the Central Valley. And I'm Jewish. And I'm able to get the evangelicals to work with our party. And our party in this last 6 years, you know what they've done with the evangelicals and the churches? Nothing. They've stayed away from them as if they were pariahs. It's time to go back to our base. Yes? And guess what? You know what those evangelicals happen to be white and black and Hispanic and Asian? Commonality? They're all Christian. Who cares what color of skin they are? They want to become Republicans, but they won't become Republicans unless we say something. We need to build coalitions under growth. We need to have permanent coalitions under growth. We need to repeal Proposition 14. Yes. One of my opponents is the one that collected the proxies to outvote the people who actually attended a convention to stop us from saying no to Proposition 14. Jessica. My other opponent was the one I debated on the floor with my resolution. Travis Allen supported Prop 14 because, as he said, it got me elected to the Assembly. Now remember what John Kerry used to say, I was against it before I was for it, or I was for it before I was against it. You know, where does he stand? Then I have a 30-day plan in which we'll be able to, once I get the gavel, be able to in 30 days have full plans and have all of the state party involved. Optimism, communications, training by webinars, being able to have a meaningful convention. Trust me, there's going to be great speakers at this convention. Stephen Yates, Steve Hilton, John Spicer, a congresswoman from Wyoming. Oh, by the way, my home county of Ventura is larger than the state of Wyoming. We're going to have great speakers. Nothing and how we're going to defeat Democrats and elect Republicans in California in 2020. That's the purpose of a convention, not to hear great speakers. It's nice to have great speakers, but we need to win. We can't afford another debacle November 6th. Finally, persistence. We need to stop the absentee ballot harvesting. And you know who I admire the most in doing that? The North Carolina Democrat Party. They went to court and stopped a Republican who won the ballot from being seated, and to this day is not seated, because he harvested ballots. And you know there's no chain of custody when you harvest ballots? And the Democrats were able to stop a Republican from being seated from North Carolina. In New Mexico, I did the story either yesterday or this morning in my newsletter, California Political News and Views. A Democrat has received an audit of a Democrat that won a congressional race because she used ballot harvesting. And guess what? No chain of custody. I brought this up to the state board. I asked them to send a letter to the Department of Justice asking for a voting rights and a secondary civil rights violation investigation. Do you know what the state party said? That's right, nothing. Didn't even respond. The North Carolina Democrats win. New Mexico Democrats win. Our folks are mute, silent. We need a bold, aggressive board of directors that stands for Republicans and honest elections. It shouldn't take Election Integrity Project California to go to the courts to show that there are 3 million illegal people on the California voting rolls and get the courts to demand those names be taken off. It shouldn't be a private organization. That's the responsibility of the board of directors of the California Republican Party. We need to be bold in what we do. We don't need to be silent. We don't need to be comatose. We need to be representative of honest government, Republican values and principles. I'll conclude with this. I walked precincts for Nixon in 1960. I've been a parliamentarian for the state party for 8 years. I've been elected to the board of directors of the state party. Been head of the California Republican Assembly. Founded National Federation Republic. I've done a lot of stuff. Some of you may remember the POWMIA bracelets. I was the designer of those with Bob Dornan. I've negotiated with the North Vietnamese Viet Cong Pathet Lao and Khmer Rouge on behalf of the American POWs and MIAs. Dealing with the unions and the Democrats are easy compared to that. But after all of these lifetime experiences, last June I made the decision that I needed one more experience because the Republican Party was in a death spiral. And I humbly say this, there's no one in the state that is more prepared to be your chairman, both in communications, I do 8 to 9 radio shows a week around the state, in speeches to groups, both partisan and nonpartisan, as well as organizing precinct operations and running a statewide political operation. And it wasn't my first choice of things to do, but if we're going to save the Republican Party, you need to have somebody like me who has that experience, the full package. Not just one thing, not just another, but the full package to be able to bring us back to relevancy. And if we don't, 2020 will be the last election the Republican Party in California will be relevant on the ballot. Because in 2021, we're going to have redistricting. And that could wipe us out, unless we have strong leadership that brings the party back. I humbly ask for your support. I want you to write this down. I believe that every chairman should be directly responsible to the members of the party and the county central committees and the volunteer leadership. I'm going to give you my personal cell phone number, and that's 805-795-1271. Feel free to call me at any time. I do answer my phone. I got a call last night about 11 o'clock, and the guy said, oh, this must be the answering machine. No, it's me. Whatever it is, I'm going to be there. I don't want you to think there's a gatekeeper to keep you from the chairman of your party. Thank you very much.